It's Heels on Wheels, the racing show by female racers, for female racers, about female racers, featuring female racers, with a few surprises thrown in. Heels on Wheels is brought to you by Renew Salon and Spa, Excelsior Racing, and Dragonflies and Nymphs Creation. And now, here are your hosts, Krista Elise, Taylor Hyatt, Gene Kinzer-Dana, Stacy Grammer, and Emily Gotti.
Thanks for tuning in to the Heels on Wheels radio program. I'm the executive producer, Taylor Hyatt, and we have one heck of a show coming your way. Let's get right into our guest lineup for tonight. First up, go-kart and stock car driver for Store Motorsports, Brooke Store. Then, pro truck driver, Jami Weimer. What are your opinions on the racing age restrictions? Are we putting kids in cars too soon? Stick around for our racing roundtable to hear what our ladies have to say. KDP is back with more from Beauty's Got Muscle, and as always, Chef Sizzlin Scotty with another great grill and dish. So let's put those heels in drive and get this show on the road. All right, it's time for racing news, my favorite part of the show when we tell you about all the stuff we care about and some of that other stuff too. We've got a ton of stuff to talk about and a bunch of races coming up this weekend, so let's get started. Krista, what do you have for us this week?
Well, I have two completely different things. First, I always like to focus on NHRA drag racing because, let's face it, drag racing is my area of expertise. I wouldn't go that far, but so our most recent race, actually, at the NHRA Gator Nationals, Robert Height won the funny car division, and Doug Kalita wins our one top fuel. Sorry, I can't even talk today. I'm still coming off of a really good show this weekend. So, next, or this coming weekend in NHRA, we actually have, let's see. Now I have this up here.
They're in Las Vegas this weekend, aren't they, Krista?
Yeah, they are in Las Vegas this weekend. So, that's a good track. It's always a good race there. So, we'll see what happens. I know that John Force had a little trouble last week. So let's see if he can recover to make history.
Yeah, I'm sure he can. He's John Force. So, he can do it if anybody can.
So I have something completely different, right? And we both know that I just came back from this huge car show that you and I attended, Taylor.
And we actually got to meet for the first time ever, which was awesome.
I know, and we actually got a little bit of coverage for the radio. So I found this interesting post on, someone posted this on Facebook today. And it was called How to Be the Worst Car Show Attendee Ever. And, having shown my car this weekend indoors for the first time ever, I just want to go through these and, real quick and see if our listeners can relate. Don't touch the cars. Mind your children. Don't talk trash on other people's cars. If you're a know-it-all about cars, please stay home. Because probably what you say about a car that's from, 1957 has nothing to do with the car owner that you're talking to or about. Watch for lenses, which means, photographers who make their living taking car photos, don't be a tourist. Get out of their way. And then there's a couple rules for car meets. Just don't do burnouts, don't be stupid, and don't ruin it for other people. And the reason I wanted to throw that out there is I heard a lot of people complaining about, touching other people's projects at car shows. So mind your manners, guys, when you go out this season, especially because it's just starting.
Well, and I can just picture Krista standing next to her car with a bat when this little kid comes running up and wants to touch the car. Just don't touch the car. What are you thinking? There's a rope around it for a reason.
You know what, Taylor, bat, that's mild. How about a taser gun?
Krista, we're talking about kids here.
Hey, what was that rule? Let me go back to this. Let's see. Mind your children. Bringing kids to a car show is a wonderful thing, but your kids are your responsibility. Don't touch cars.
I think car shows just take a lot of common sense. These are people's projects that they have worked on for years and years and years, and you can't just do whatever you think. This isn't a Kmart parking lot, okay?
Yeah. I gotta say there were a lot of people that wanted to see my car in particular, and then also some of the really high up elite class cars, and I did see them ask, and respectfully, but I think this goes a lot towards the younger generation. I see that they just, they want to take a picture, so they'll open your door without asking, lean on it like it's nobody's business. I'm not trying to be negative Nancy today, but Watch your P's and Q's, guys.
Well, Krista, you personally also have some big news that you got this week.
Oh, yeah. So, this is going to be a surprise for a certain someone next weekend, but we are starting filming for the Velocity channel next weekend. So stay tuned on Heels on Wheels and Performance Motorsports Network whenever that airs, which will probably be in September. And cross your fingers that the car doesn't break.
And you're also writing.
Oh, yeah. So I just got picked up with a pretty big custom lifestyle magazine, AFX magazine, which, I'm sure that Performance Motorsports Network and Heels on Wheels will probably be doing a lot of collaboration with them in the future. So, you guys, please stay tuned to Performance Motorsports Network, and let's see if I can write better than I can talk today.
All right. Well, Chris has got tons of big news this weekend and from this weekend and into this week. But, okay, I want to go to NASCAR for a second because, this is my favorite thing to talk about. Denny Hamlin called in sick for a NASCAR race. Really? This is what you do for a living?
I mean, I haven't done the research on that, but when is the last time, if ever, that's happened?
I don't know.
Death, I mean.
And it was a sinus infection, and it was 30 minutes before his race. Really? You couldn't just get in the car? Even his manager said the same thing. So, I mean, I just had to mention that because that's typical NASCAR for you. So,
when they call Jeff Gordon a princess, I think they need to rethink that one.
All right, so I want to mention some statistics here, or some standings. Brittany Force is currently 7th in the top fuel in NHRA. Alexis DeJoria is 3rd in Funny Car. Courtney Force is 10th in Funny Car. And Jennifer Jo Cobb is currently 17th in the Camping World Truck Series. So some big names out there. Make sure you watch for them. Also,
Brittany Force holding it up for the family.
Yeah, she's doing good. Doing good. This weekend, things to watch out for. Formula One is in Malaysia this weekend. NHRA, once again, in Las Vegas. Pirelli World Challenge, first weekend in St. Petersburg. And we have some girls there from Performance Motorsports Network. Jean Kinzerdana, who is a previous host of the show, will be there. Make sure you look them up, Performance Motorsports Network. We cover all that kind of stuff. Locally, Washington, D.C. region driver school at Summit Point, West Virginia. IndyCar in St. Petersburg as well, and NASCAR is at Martinsville Speedway, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. That's really all I have. It's definitely a big week for racing. The season's getting started. Any last words, Krista?
Southern Maryland Mustang Club show, which is, they help a bunch of charities. That's on April 12th in Solomon's Island. So, you can come out and see me and talk drag racing and head on down to Patrick with me.
And Pink. Don't forget Pink.
And Pink.
All right. Well, that's it for racing news today. Let's go see what Scotty's got on the grill.
Thanks, Taylor. And this is Sizzlin Scotty with another recipe from the tailgate and from the blacktop. And, lately had a lot of new thoughts, and I've been working in the test kitchen and have come up with a great recipe that I'd like to share with you ladies that I served up to a bunch of friends when we were watching the race this past weekend, and here it is. And believe it or not, these are Sloppy Joe Heroes, and that's going to be a little bit off kilter, but we want to try something different. So these Sloppy Joe Heroes are basically, we're going to take a great Sloppy Joe recipe and turn it into a sub. Again, something that's handheld and that won't make too much of a mess. And that way you've got something that is right there, ready for you. So let's get right into the ingredients list. We're going to go with 1 pound of lean ground beef. We're going to take 1 large onion. We're going to chop that up. 1 green bell pepper. We're going to chop that up. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. 1 teaspoon of prepared yellow mustard. 3/4 cup of ketchup. If you want to substitute in, I actually put in a little bit of barbecue sauce in with the ketchup just to give it a little kick. 3 teaspoons of brown sugar. some salt and pepper to taste, and we're actually going to put in here 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce to add a little extra flavor. So this is really, really simple. We're going to cut all our ingredients up, get everything all nice, diced up all nice, and in a medium skillet over medium heat, or you can do this right on the grill over medium heat. We're going to brown the ground beef, the onion, and the green pepper, and we're going to drain off a little bit of the oil or any extra liquid that you might have in there. At that point, we're going to stir in the garlic powder, the mustard, the ketchup, the brown sugar, and the Worcestershire sauce, and we're going to mix that in thoroughly, and we're going to reduce the heat on that. We're going to let it simmer for about 30 minutes, and as we're going, we're going to taste that and season it with salt and pepper as need be. Now, what we're going to use as our vessel to serve these up on are some nice sub rolls. Some, about a 6-inch sub roll would be perfect. And what we did was, and this was a great idea, we actually shredded up some lettuce, we cut up some tomato, we cut up some onion, and we actually, when we put this all together, you take your sub roll, cut it down the middle, and then what we did was we laid down some pepper jack cheese, and then we put our sloppy Joe mix right on top of that. We topped it with some lettuce, topped it with some tomato, topped it with some onion, and really any toppings that you want. But we wanted to try to keep it fairly basic. So we got those nice things all together, and when you put that all together, it's a hot sub, but it's a cold sub. And when you're out at the tailgate, that's going to be something that's going to be, it's going to have a great flavor. Again, it's something that's handheld. These 6-inch sub rolls you can split in 2 so that you've got more to go around. That recipe will make anywhere from 6 to 8 subs for you, and if you cut them in half, you're serving more people up, and you're making the bang for your buck go a little bit more. This will go great with diet soda or a nice adult beverage. A nice light beer would be really nice with this. There's a lot of great beers out there that are coming up, micro brews. We did a little bit of sampling when we did this, and there's a lot of great ones. I would definitely invite our viewers to go outside of their normal comfort zone when it comes to beers and try a lot of the great micro brews and craft brews that are out there, because they'll really pair well with this Sloppy Joe Hero. So that's it for this week with Sizzlin' Scotty. You can find all of our recipes on our Facebook page, which is Tailgate Grillin' with Sizzlin' Scotty, or on our Heels on Wheels Facebook page. Give us a like and drop us a comment about what you'd like to hear or hear me come up with for a future show. So this is Sizzlin' Scotty, and we will be right back after these messages.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right, it's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette, it's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes, on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
If you're a gearhead, you probably go online to those hot rod superstores, drooling over the chrome and speed goodies until you find just the right item for your muscle car, tuner car, truck. But what do you do when it comes to fixing the mom mobile? If you're like most do-it-yourselfers, you head to the strip mall parts store and talk to the "Do you want fries with that?" kid behind the counter. Hold on, Bunky. Did you stop to think where those chain stores are getting the parts that you're installing in the vehicle that's used to transport your family everywhere? They get the cheapest suppliers they can find to sell you the parts at bargain prices. Their limited lifetime warranties? What a joke. Remember the last time Mom's car broke down? You heard about that one for weeks. Don't take that chance again. Excelsior Racing has the quality parts you need for your family vehicle. Parts that you can install knowing you're getting the best for your family. Excelsior Racing. Quality parts, personalized service, affordable pricing, fast to you direct. Excelsior Racing. Online at excelsiorracing.com or call 502-909-2034.
Hi, this is Sugarland here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Music is one of the most important things in our lives, but nothing is more important than life itself. Music lives, and so should you. Please plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate.
Friends don't let friends
drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
This is Heels on Wheels on the PerformanceMotorsportsNetwork.com. Now, back to the fastest ladies on two wheels.
All right, and we're back with the Heels on Wheels radio program on the Performance Motorsports Network. I'm here with go-kart and stock car driver, Brooke Storer. How are you today, Brooke?
Good, how are you?
We're doing good. I'm here with Crystal Elise, and we are really excited to have you on the show today. Tell us how you got started in motorsports.
Thanks. My dad has been racing since he was 15, and I've grown up on racing every single weekend. So my dad got me into go-karting at 8 years old, and we've been moving forward ever since.
What are you currently racing?
Right now, our personal car is a modified mini stock, a 4-cylinder, and we also have the go-kart that we've been running. I think we've ran about 3 times this year. And I'm also running the super late model for Webster Race Cars.
So, I'm pretty familiar with go-kart racing. What class do you actually run in that, and what tracks do you usually visit?
I am a 6-time champion at Dirt Devil Speedway in Land O'Lakes. And this weekend we're going to be going to Fruitland Park for the Marty Rester Memorial Race. And I've been running stock heavy. It's a big change. I have to have like 100 pounds of lead on the go-kart because you got to weigh 375. So trying to drive that much weight around is definitely a big step from last year where I only had to weigh 320 and it was nothing almost. But racing against these big guys and big name teams, it's definitely difficult. But I try my best, and we've gotten some really good finishes here this year. And we're especially looking forward to this Marty Rester race. It's a big memorial race, and it'd be really nice to get a top 3.
How difficult is it to go between racing a go-kart and a car? Is it hard to get back into one or the other after you've been in the other one for a while?
It took me a little bit. After all last year, I ran the super late model. I only ran the modified mini stock about 3 times, and that's actually a front-wheel drive. So going from the super late model to the front-wheel drive mini stock was definitely a big change. It took me about 10 or so laps to get back used to it, to remember the whole line at different tracks and stuff. But for me, it's not that difficult, especially once you get out there racing. It seems like it comes natural almost, but it's definitely sometimes difficult.
You're right on one perspective. Racing is racing, and when you get used to being in the driver's seat, the 2 types of racing you do are very, very similar. But, is there one that you desire to do more than the other one right now?
I would much rather be in the super late model than anything else.
And why is that?
The speed and how you actually... There's so much competition every weekend. I've been lately racing at Auburndale Speedway. It's a 1/4-mile little bull ring track, and you stick 24 of us out there. You got to really drive as hard as you can every single lap. Make sure, because, if you fall back a little bit, the leaders are coming, and lap 10, you're already catching lap traffic. So there's never a dull moment, and you've got to be on your A game at every single lap, especially at these small tracks around here.
You're obviously a really good driver with as many feature races that you've won and the championships and stuff like that. Do you work on your car as well?
Yes, especially for the super late model. Glenn Webster that owns the car, I go to a shop as much as I can. It's, of course, hard with school, and I've been trying to do some powder coat work for some other racers and stuff, trying to make some extra money to race more, because I'd like to race at least 3 times a month. It doesn't matter what I'm racing. I just feel like I always need to be behind the wheel to stay consistent. And I try to work on them every single night once I'm done, and then almost make it a routine to always be out in the shop. Like, we got done racing Saturday at Dirt Devil Speedway, and Sunday morning we're already out there washing the go-karts, working on them, seeing what happened, what could make it better and just trying different stuff every single weekend.
And did you have any training to learn how to work on your cars, or is it something you and your dad and your brother all do together and you got taught that way?
Oh yeah, it's a whole family thing. It's every night we eat dinner together and we all four of us go out in the shop. It's just one of those family tradition things that every night always being out there working on something. If there's nothing to work on, we'll find something.
Do you know, I mean, at some point are you going to have to choose one or the other form of racing and actually run with it and really focus all of your time on that, like, certain athletes do in sports?
I would hope so. I would really like to really focus on the Super because I know that's the car that can get me the farthest in racing. But it's also hard because I race for someone else. So every season it's almost like I hope I can still run it. And you try your best every single race to always know that you have that ride secure and only you are going to be driving that car. But it'd be different if I did own, or my family owned, a super late model, and we knew that we'd be running it almost every weekend.
So you're kind of keeping that there as your option to make sure that you stay in racing just in case the other car isn't available for one season, that, it doesn't really hinder your progress?
Right, that's if one weekend, say the Super's not ready to race, we always have the go-karts. We have the modified mini stock. And actually just a few weeks ago, I ran a V8 Bomber for someone. Okay. So it's almost as if I do have something to race every single weekend because of my parents having our own race car and go-karts to always be behind the wheel of something.
So you did something really cool, and it was for a special friend of yours, and I want you to tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I'm sure it's hard for you to talk about, but if you want to tell us just a little bit, I'm sure everyone would really appreciate it.
Yes. I created these ribbons that I still have on my fire suits. I ran pro trucks when I was 12, and that was the year that he passed away. He was the owner of Karnak. I'm sure tons of people know what that is. And I made these ribbons in honor of him because he was always a super nice guy, would never have a problem talking to anyone or cheering you up. So I have that on the side of my fire suit. There's still late models and stuff out there today that I see the ribbons, stickers, and stuff on. And it was just really nice, especially like his family was really good with me creating all that. So it was pretty... Especially at DeSoto, his friend Rick Angies was down there, and the weekend I created all that, I ended up winning the pro truck race. And I think that was the first race I won it was a week before I turned 13. And so it was nice to know how much Rick cared, and he's the announcer down there. And
do you feel compelled to maybe get involved in more charity work after doing something like that and seeing the impact that it makes for people?
Yeah, especially my family, especially my aunt and my uncle, created this Brian Storr Memorial Race at Auburndale for super late models. So we've been trying, like, every time something were to happen like that, especially for one of my family members, we really wanted to do something special. And my uncle used to race a lot, and he passed away at only 39 years old. So we decided to do a race in honor of him, and we made sure my dad was in a super late model to race it. I wasn't able to race it the first year, but this past year, me and my uncle got to run it together side by side. He qualified 11th, I qualified 12th. And we both started side by side. So in honor of my other uncle, I thought that was really neat.
It sounds like you just all around have a lot of reasons to keep racing and, a lot of friends involved, a lot of family. What advice do you have to give to other young girls like yourself that want to get involved in motorsports?
There's actually one thing, like the main thing. It's always something me and my mom say before I get into the race car or the go-karts or anything I drive. It's just to never give up. No matter how bad you could be doing, something could happen. You never know. And you don't quit until you see that checkered flag drop.
What are your aspirations for the near future, the goals that you want to accomplish this coming season?
I would love to get back in the Super and run another series, but I hope I can find sponsors to get back in the seat.
Do you currently have any sponsors?
Not at this point right now. It's just us with Store Motorsports. I get a couple small ones here and there. And then I just got someone that paid to embroider my fire suit. But I have no main sponsors right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. She is looking for sponsors. So why don't you tell us where our listeners can find you, and maybe they can hook you up with some sponsors.
You can find me on Facebook, and I will respond to you as quick as I can. Just search me up, and I'm looking to have a website up here soon, which I'm really excited about. I've always wanted one, and I know it would be good for me to have one. And especially go like our Store Motorsports Facebook page. We're giving out free T-shirts for the next 200 followers, I'm pretty sure. 200 likes. I think we're at 1,100 or so. So when we get to 1,500, or I think, I'm not sure. My mom's my PR person, and she's the one setting it up. We're giving away a couple free T-shirts, so go definitely like that.
Okay, look, a free T-shirt just for following and liking somebody who's trying to get ahead in motorsports. How can you go wrong, guys? Please go and support this girl.
Yeah,
Thank you.
She is doing amazing things, that's for sure. And we're definitely going to follow your racing career and have you back on the show soon.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This has been Taylor Hyatt along with Krista Elise for Heels on Wheels radio program. We'll be right back after a break from our sponsors.
Welcome to Blacktop Boot Camp's Beltway Survival Minute, where we teach you how to survive the mean streets of the D.C. metro area. We've already had our first taste of winter, and the body shops are overflowing with cars whose drivers ran out of talent and crashed. 99% of the drivers out there overestimate their driving ability, but we're going to try to help you become a better driver. While today's cars have outstanding features like anti-lock brakes and active handling systems, there's only so much that these systems can do to compensate for driver error. In fact, in snow, sand, gravel, and mud, ABS actually increases your stopping distance by 3 times or more. So an average car that normally stops from 60 miles an hour and 140 feet will take 420 feet to stop in the snow with ABS. So when the snow starts piling up on the road, you need to increase your following distance to accommodate for this reduction in braking ability. Cheaper than your insurance deductible, the fun, hands-on driving arts classes at Blacktop Boot Camp teach skid control in our skid car, accident avoidance maneuvers, and more. For information on our corporate and team driving courses, please visit www.blacktopbootcamp.com. That's www.blacktopbootcamp.
Hi, I'm Mickey for Bed Bug Detection Services. Bed Bug Detection Services rescues dogs from the Humane Society and the SPCA, then trains them at the Florida Canine Academy. We then pair them up with a handler where they will spend the rest of their lives in a happy family home working in the community. We want to rescue our second dog, but we cannot do it without your help. We are fundraising to bring home our next canine. Please go to bbds.us, that's bbds.us, and do your part in helping us rescue another dog. bbds.us will give life, home, and a meaning to another dog. bbds.us. With every donation, you will receive a signed postcard from our current bed bug detection dog rescue, Lily. Go to bbds.us. And thank you.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit. Make a plan. Be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
You got it locked to Heels on Wheels, the PerformanceMotorsportNetwork.com, a member of the Scorpion Radio Group. Now back to the women wearing the driver's helmets.
Hey everyone, we're back with the Heels on Wheels radio program, and I am super excited to say I have pro truck driver Jami Weimer here with me to talk about her racing career and what she's been up to. And you are really young and have done a lot so far in your racing career. So tell us how you got started.
Thank you for having me on. I got started when I was 13 years old. And it was just a common father-daughter relationship. My dad was bringing me to the track ever since I was young, and when I was 13, I finally got the edge to start racing, and I started in a Bandolero, and I've got a lot of success in them. So the next season I moved up to Legend Cars for 2 years, and then that's where I am now, and I moved up to Pro Trucks.
You know, I see here that you graduated from Race 101 program in Charlotte, North Carolina. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, the Race 101 program is a yearly program put on by Tony Blanchard. He is very well known throughout the super late model community, throughout North Carolina and beyond there even. And he is very dedicated to the sport and very smart with it. You know, he mentored Joey Logano and a lot of other famous up-and-coming racers that have made a name for themselves. So he's now moved on to the ARCA series, and you know, he puts on a yearly program for drivers who want to come in and learn about the mechanics of the car and marketing aspects, and he teaches drivers who really want to become something other than a driver, and they really have the passion in it to advance themselves up the ranks, and that's what that class has done for me. It's really helped me, you know, learn some things that I didn't know about and learn about, like I said, mechanics of the race cars I'm going to be driving upcoming here soon.
Jami, tell some of our listeners that may not know, what exactly is a Pro Truck?
Pro Truck is just kind of your standard. It's a GM metric crate chassis, and we run 602 motors. It's kind of similar to late models. You know, you progress. They have a Super Truck series, and then they have an ARCA Truck series. So I'm kind of in a Pro Truck as to a Pro late model, as you can say.
What, out of everything that you've raced in your career so far, which one do you like the best?
Well, that's kind of a hard question because all of the series and all the cars that I've been in have been unique, and they've all teaching me, you know, abilities and characteristics of the cars that have helped me become the driver I am today. So I definitely like the full-bodied cars with the bigger motors. Like I said, I've been testing a lot of super late models and pro late models, and similar, I'm racing my truck this year. So it's hard to say a favorite, but they've definitely all been unique and definitely helped me.
What are your long-term goals? Where do you want to be once, I mean, you like doing this now, but, you know, 5 or 10 years down the road, where do you want to be in the racing industry?
I definitely want to be racing, and like anyone else, I want to continue up the ranks of NASCAR. You know, I've gotten an opportunity last year in December. I tested at the Daytona ARCA test, and I got approved by the ARCA officials to run this year in ARCA. So that would be a huge step to one day say that I've raced a full season in ARCA, and then from there advance, you know, maybe to some trucks and maybe one day soon some nationwide races.
You know, it says here that you've reached a top speed of 179 miles per hour. I mean, that is just amazing. How do you prepare yourself for something like that?
I don't know if you can, actually. Yep, the 179 was at Daytona, and it was a blast. You know, it's every kid's dream growing up to say that they made laps around the famous Daytona International Speedway, and for me to accomplish that at 18 and say that I went 180, pretty much 180 miles an hour around Daytona, drafting with some of the most famous drivers in racing is quite incredible, and there was no way to prepare for it, but it was an awesome experience.
You know, I have to say, you're quite an amazing young girl because you also have some health issues that would really put a lot of people off from racing, but you stick right with that and have done a lot so far. How do those health issues maybe deter you a little bit, or does it at all?
Yeah, for those who don't know, I was diagnosed at age 10 with type 1 diabetes, and it definitely has been a struggle growing up, but I've turned to racing as my outlet for that, and I take it day by day, and I manage my diabetes correctly so I can be able to go to the racetrack on the weekends and enjoy my sport and do what I love. So it's definitely had its challenges, but it's just made me a better person to learn to overcome it and fight it.
That was going to be my question. How difficult is it to actually manage a diabetic diet, having to be at a racetrack all weekend?
It is quite challenging sometimes because I can't go to the track concession stands and eat a cheeseburger or eat a hot dog or eat French fries or any of that. I don't eat any grains, which is something that I've started on my own. I've become gluten-free to help manage my diabetes and make me a healthier person, and it's definitely worked. It feels great to be able to have a athletic lifestyle, and I think my diabetes has helped that, because without diabetes I wouldn't really care what I eat, and so managing that, I think, has helped me become a better racer because I am fit and healthier than I otherwise would be.
That's an example of making something positive out of an everyday challenge for you. Speaking of an everyday challenge, by the way, you're competing in the Peak Stock Car Dream Challenge. I see that you're doing pretty well. Tell me how do you feel about that?
Yes, I'm super excited about my opportunity with Peak and with Michael Waltrip Racing and what they're putting on. I watched the competition last year, and I said, man, if I only knew about this, I would have entered it. And, I was so excited when it came around this year. I actually got a very late start compared to my competitors. I started about a week and a half ago, and most of the other competitors have been on since the beginning, which is about 5 weeks. So I just recently moved into the top 10 hot list, which is a very big accomplishment. And I'm currently 9th. I'll be 8th by tomorrow. And that also puts me as the highest female in the contest. So that's very rewarding and very exciting, and I hope so I can continue to get votes and hopefully represent the female community this summer.
So while we're talking about this, where can they go and vote for you? Because we got a lot of people who love supporting, our interviewees, and they do a really good job.
It would be great to get a huge support system in the female racing community. I think it would definitely help catch up on the leaders. You can go to peakstockcardream.com, and you can click on the top 10 hot lists, and you can scroll down. I'm in 9th place. So you can just click on my name and read my bio. You can watch my video, and all you have to do is enter your email and verify it, and then you can vote 5 times every single day. It's really easy, and it only takes about 30 seconds. So if I could get some support from the female community, I think I could have a true shot at being selected.
That would be so awesome, and I'm sure there are tons of people out there listening right now that are logging on to do that. I know the few of us here in the studio will certainly do that for you. I want to ask you a question. We're talking about the age restrictions in racing on our racing roundtable coming up, and I just want to get your opinion. I mean, you obviously started before you got your legal driver's license. Do you think that age restriction is necessary? Do you think you should have a driver's license before you start racing, or do you think it's okay for kids to get into a car before that?
Definitely not. I don't think that you should wait until your driver's license age. That's 15 or 16. You have to compare racing as to any other youth sports. You need to get in as soon as you can, and kids at 6 years old, 7 years old in go-karts, I think that's what our sport needs, and you need to continue doing that, because that's how you develop champions. It takes time and it takes a lot of practice. So making them wait until they were 15 or 16, I don't think that would benefit anyone.
So tell us, what are you doing this season, and where can our listeners go and watch you or follow what you're doing?
So far this season, I have plans for a full truck season. I'm running locally at Gresham Motorsports Park It's in North Georgia. So I'm running the full season there, which is about 12 races. And fingers crossed, I'm hoping to be selected as a Peak Stock Car Dream Challenge. Like I said, there's a 3-day event in the summer, which is televised. It's like a delayed televised program, but it would definitely be cool to see me there. And like I said, they pick 18 off of this list that I'm currently 9th in. The top 5 are guaranteed. So 18 people will be invited, and there'll be one grand prize winner to win the ultimate sponsored K&N race for one time at the end of the season, and then hopefully maybe sponsorship ride next year. But, I'm going to go into that with my best positive attitude, and hopefully if I get picked at least, and see what I can do there, and definitely learn from the experience, and then just continue racing locally and hopefully try to work out some deals for some ARCA races.
All right. Well, before we go here, why don't you tell our listeners your social media links and your website?
All right. I'm on Facebook at Jami, Jami, no E. My name's kind of tricky. And then Weimer, Weimer, Jami Weimer Racing. And then I have a website, jamiweimer.com. And Twitter, Jami Weimer.
All right, Krista, any last thoughts?
No, you know what? I was going to ask if you had one bit of advice for anybody going through what you're doing right now, what would it be?
I would say to push. You can't give up, and you can't let people discourage you from chasing your dreams, and you just got to find something that you're heavily passionate about and keep going with it. You can't give up. You got to find something that other people are not doing and try to make yourself stand out and accomplish your dreams, chase your dreams.
All right. Well, it has been great talking with you, and we're definitely going to follow your racing career. This has been Taylor Hyatt, along with Krista Elise, interviewing pro truck driver Jami Weimer for Heels on Wheels radio program. We'll be right back after this break.
On the air, you may know me as the man about motorsports. Actually, I've been the man about insurance for over 30 years. With one call, I can cover your life, health, auto, home, and business insurance. Recently, I saved a young couple over $500 on their annual car insurance bill. No gimmicks and no green lizard. So if you think your insurer is really your good neighbor who is on your side because he is holding your money in his good hands, think again. Call me, 703-631-8000. I have dozens of insurance companies waiting to give you the protection you need and deserve. It may take more than 15 minutes, but you'll receive sound advice, quality professional service, and an honest opinion. That number again, 703-631-8000. Ask for Larry O.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
In the race of everyday life, it's nice to have the green flag. But drivetrain problems are the pits. A fully remanufactured engine, transmission, or differential from Jasper Engines and Transmissions costs less than a new vehicle and comes with a 3-year, 100,000-mile nationwide transferable warranty. See JasperEngines.com for details and get the green flag in your race of everyday life.
See the boys at Chandler & Sons Automotive, 45977 Old Ox Road in Sterling. Give them a call, 703-437-7300.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit. Make a plan. Be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
This is Heels on Wheels on the PerformanceMotorsportNetwork.com. Now, back to the fastest ladies on four wheels.
Hey guys, this is Katie from Beauty's Got Muscle. Recently in the headlines, GM is under massive amounts of fire. If you don't know why, then do you read? Anyway, GM has a big recall going on right now, and the reason they're catching so much heat, because recalls happen every day, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know this, then it's just the same way when you buy a new iPhone that you anticipate that there's going to be updates and things like that. The same shit happens with cars. Unfortunately, at this time, there was 12 people who died in result of this recall. And this is obviously a problem because when people die not due to their own error, and it's the manufacturer's fault, justice needs to kind of be done. If it was a family member of mine that was lost at the cost of a car, I would be pissed. And that's fairly warranted. And a reason why a lot of people are also upset and mad is because we don't know yet, but GM was possibly privy to this information of the faulty ignition that needed the recall back in 2004. And it was something I believe they just saw as an oversight, and they also didn't directly see the relation between the faulty ignition and these deaths. And that wasn't brought to light later in time until apparently recently, and as soon as Mary Barra found out, the CEO of GM, they put in for the recall. And the cars directly related to the ignition switch recall are the Chevy Cobalt, the Pontiac G5, the Saturn Ion, Pontiac Solstice, the Chevy HHR, and the Saturn Sky, and model years between 2003 and 2007. They sent out a recall to all the people who were affected by it, so if you got a recall, you know who you are. And as far as I've read so far, April 7th is when the dealers are getting information of how to fix the switches, if they're getting switch parts to supply to the people affected by the recall. Now, a lot of stuff was just thrown at you. Let's go over and break it down a little bit. Number one, the ignition switch recall, if you don't understand what's going on with it. Basically, if you have too many keys on your key ring, or if you jostle or bump your key while it's in the ignition, it will turn off the ignition, and in doing that, it's also been deactivating the airbags, so the airbags would deploy in an accident. So your car stops running, so you lose power steering, amongst other things, and then the airbags aren't deploying. Now, they weren't technically aware of the direct correlation. That's currently what is under investigation. If they knew earlier of the issue and did nothing about it, that we will find out with time from General Motors. Either way, I am disappointed that this has come to pass with GM, that I think any issue, no matter how small, should be taken care of. You should always take pride in your product, because I take pride in their product, and I, being a GM fan, especially a Chevy fan, I'm bummed with them. It's like when your favorite sports team makes an idiotic move. Stupid, silly move. Like the basketball player on one team, I'm using basketball, but I hate basketball, but this is the only, you know what, I'm going to change it. Not basketball. If your soccer player from one team runs down to his own goalie and shoots on his goalie, and maybe doesn't necessarily get it in, but it's like, what the hell are you doing? That was a ridiculous move. You know better than that, and that's how I feel with GM right now. However, there is also a lot of slander and baloney going on through media headlines over this. Once people are essentially in fatality situations when it comes to the direct result of a big corporation, that corporation comes under fire no matter what. And sometimes the fire is unjust, and it's just they're pulling numbers out of nowhere. Right now, there was one speculation that came out recently saying 303 fatalities were directly related to this ignition switch. And if you read in the headlines, they'll say 303 fatalities, GM recall. And then when you read the article, you see that they say this is all currently speculation, nothing's been brought to justice in a court of law, blah, blah, blah. They're only looking at one element of the information given, one factor, and not at all the rest. So it makes it inconclusive evidence, and they can't do that. It would be the same way as if you were standing next to somebody who had a knife in their chest, and they're saying, pull it out, pull it out, pull it out, and you pull it out for them, and they're happy with you, but then the cops come and they look at you and they see you with the knife in their hand, they're like, you mother effer. So you would want everybody to look at all the aspects of it. I want everybody to look at all the aspects of it, but what the media does is they put 303 fatalities, GM recall, and 90% of the public doesn't read the article, so they just take that and run with that information. And that is what gets me all fueled and mad. Because at the same time, I'm really mad with GM. I want them to take pride in their product, and I know right now they're currently trying to do massive damage control, but they also don't need their name slandered. I want people to be buying American cars, especially GM. Mary Barra, who only just stepped into the shoes of GM Chief Executive Officer in January, has massive damage control in front of her. The stage is set for her right now to really show what women can do. She's got a lot on her hands, and I definitely feel for her, and I'm rooting for her, and I'm interested to see how she's going to handle all this. So far, she's, I think, doing the best she can. She's coming under massive fire. And I hope GM continues to bring out as much information about this as possible, because I think the more they get out in the open, the better they're going to do for themselves. In a recent interview with Mary Barra, she said she's widening the number of investigations into the switch recall, and also creating and conducting an intense review within all internal processes within GM as far as their safety protocols. She's fast-tracking other pending safety reviews, so they're definitely taking this seriously as they have to at this point. And hopefully at the end of it all, we'll have a much better GM. What I strongly suggest to all of you, if you see something in the headlines, and this should go for anything, regardless of any headline you read, whether it be ice cream is filled with duty, you should look into what the article is talking about, because they'll put words on a headline and it may have no grounds to be there whatsoever. They just want you to read the article, and unfortunately most of us don't. So the biggest thing we can do as a proactive society is read, goddammit, and keep our fingers crossed that nobody else was directly affected with this recall and that GM will be smart and do their customers right. That's all I've got for today, guys. This has been Katie with Beauty's Got Muscle. Now back to the ladies of Heels on Wheels.
Well, after that, Krista, I no longer want to eat ice cream right now. So
yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna go back in my fridge after I get off of here and actually look if duty is like hidden down in some of the ingredients.
Right?
Somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even want to think about it. All right. So this is our time to shine or rant and rave or whatever we would like to do. But on a serious note, this roundtable is kind of dedicated to the death of the 15-year-old girl from the dirt track in Florida that, she was in an accident in her very first time out on the track. And, there's a lot of speculation going on, and this has really put a lot of discussion out on the table about age restrictions for racing. And I think there's a lot more to the story that people may not be looking into, but a lot of people are very upset about this, and it's causing a lot of drama.
Yeah, I mean, and I read that article briefly today, this morning, while I was trying to figure out how to make coffee with a broken coffee maker. And, I agree. Accidents happen all the time on the racetrack. That's why we have safety equipment. And I don't always trust the media to tell the whole story, whether they know it or not, in the first place. But I mean, even given that awful tragedy, which I'm so sad for her family that happened, and it's a shame. A, you cannot cage your kids up in the room and wrap them in bubble wrap to make sure nothing ever happens. And B, if you think about it, for probably most cases, it's better for them to experience cars before they get on the road and can kill someone else too.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Diana, you're on the line with us too. What are you thinking?
It hits me on so many different levels. Not just that, it's a female, but it's, she's from my home state, and I'm thinking that there need to be more Skills for Life programs. And it kills me every time I hear that, driver's ed classes are some of the first to get cut. Let me tell you, it definitely, driver's ed left a big impression, especially when I saw the drinking and driving and, crazy videos that you see with, bodies getting thrown everywhere. And it's really kind of over exaggeration, but in a way it's not. And I think as a society, I think we really need to step forward and we need to make sure that our kids are ready to get behind the wheel. I know kids that were driving when they were, driving tractors when they were 12. So maybe that kid has a lot more experience than his counterpart at 18. But that's where I think the wisdom of parents really needs to come into play as well. So,
I think
there's
Diana,
no cut and dry thing about it.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there with the driver's ed being cut. The most dangerous thing you will probably ever do in your life is drive a car on the street. I mean, let's face it, you're never safe. You have to be a defensive driver 110% of the time. And yet that is the first thing to get cut out of these kids' lives. I will tell you right now, 90% of the stuff I was taught in driver's ed, I still do every time I get in my car. The accelerator, maybe a little bit down too far sometimes, but I'm a racing girl, I can't help it. But seriously, why are we taking these classes away from these kids that they have to do every single day of their lives? I don't get it. But, on the age thing with racing, I have mixed feelings about this because on one hand, the kids should be in the car as quickly as they can be because it teaches them control. On the other hand, some of these kids are not mature enough to handle that. So, I want to bring in our producer, Bob Steele, because he had some big thoughts on this. Bob, what do you think?
This is a real tough one because, first off, it's a safety issue. And we've looked at different sanctioning bodies in the dirt and go left asphalt group. And they're just not as safe as, say, the Sports Car Club of America or the NHRA or the IHRA. They don't require the driver safety, the roll cages, the fire systems that some of the other sanctioning bodies require. And if we're going to put younger kids in the cars, and again, that I think is a judgment call that has to be made by the sanctioning body and the parents. Is the kid mature enough to drive? Are they mature enough to drive at high speed? But we also have to make sure that they're safe. Fire suits, fire retardant underwear, fire systems in the car, a good helmet, not a motorcycle helmet, not a Kmart, Walmart helmet, and there's nothing wrong with them, but not for car racing. And then fire safety crews at the tracks. These are things that are absolutely critical if you're going to have anybody race, but particularly kids race, because let's face it, this headline has gotten, as tragic as it is, has pointed a big finger at dirt racing because of safety and the fact that this young lady died. And it's really a shame that it happened, and my thoughts and prayers and heart goes out to the family. I believe she was her dad. She was her father was a single parent, but she died doing what she wanted to do. So there is that we can take some solace in. But we have to do these things. We have to increase the safety, and we have to look at the kids that race, and the sanctioning bodies have to as well, in a mature level. Let's say maybe not just a driver's school, but certainly a rookie kind of thing where they have to pass certain tests. They can only race on certain tracks. They can't race on, at certain times. There's got to be some regulations here where there is some common sense and where the young drivers that are coming up today can actually get exposure, but on a bigger picture, stay safe and drive again tomorrow and the next day and have a long driving career.
I got to chime in here because I think you're exactly right. And it surprises me that kids are racing at such a young age and they stick them right in a car that runs as fast as mine does, or faster sometimes, without any experience, we were talking simulation a while ago. No testing, no review course. Even for guns, you have to take an hour review course if you're a kid to go shoot a gun.
Yeah, I want to mention the iRacing, which iRacing I think is great. It's a way to get them some experience before actually getting into the car. And you can race. We had the lady on a couple of weeks ago who was really big into iRacing. You can get the experience and get the fun out of racing before you actually get into that car and put yourself into danger. I want to ask a question to the two of you. Do you think these deaths and accidents that are happening at the tracks, is it more the track, the car, or the person that's driving? What do you think about that? Diana?
Well, there's nothing about it that isn't reckless, for starters. I just, dirt racing to me is basically, and I have a hard time saying this because I definitely want to respect this dear girl and her family and what just happened, but I think it's like getting on a bike without a helmet. I think it's a death wish, especially, I've been to dirt tracks, and I'm not going to say at all dirt tracks and in all types of dirt racing, but I've been to some different types of dirt racing where you're out there with, and I'm not going to stereotype, but you're out there with some drunk people who are, drinking and driving all night. And my God, if any alcohol was in anybody's system there, I think, and they had any kind of responsibility, I think that's something that they really need to investigate. honestly, she's 15. She's underage for being an adult. And I think it really's got to fall back on the parents. I mean, if nobody's drinking, well, great. But still, I mean, I wouldn't put my kid out on a dirt track with, half a dozen other cars just sliding around and being crazy.
Yeah. All right.
Not
well,
gonna happen.
I mean, I think we can all kind of agree that the maturity level has to be decided by the parents and the racing group that you're with. Other than that, I don't know that there's much more we can say about this. It's definitely tragic, and we wish the best for her family. But that is a wrap for this week's edition of the Heels on Wheels radio program. We'll be back next week with even more amazing guests. Thanks to our guests this week, go-kart and stock car driver for Store Motorsports, Brooke Store, and pro truck driver Jami Weimer. Find out more about KDP and Beauty's Got Muscle by visiting www.beautysgotmuscle.com or on Facebook. For more tailgating recipes, like Chef Sizzlin Scotty's Facebook page, facebook.com/tailgategrillin with Sizzlin Scotty. Our shows are now posted on YouTube, so make sure you look up Heels on Wheels PMN and listen to all of the shows from this year. Our hosts have been Krista Elise, Diana Clausen, and myself, Taylor Hyatt. Thanks to our production engineer and programming consultant, Bob Steele. Thanks for listening. Now let's go racing.
Heels on Wheels is a copyrighted production of www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com, a member of the Scorpion Radio Group, Incorporated, and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page, Heels on Wheels Radio Show, or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either PMN or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated. Be listening next week as the fastest women on the planet rev it up and talk racing.